Championship DNA is not forged in the moments when everything is going perfectly well and the shots are falling effortlessly, but rather, it is forged in the absolute darkest and most frustrating minutes of a grueling playoff battle, when the offensive execution completely stagnates and the opposing crowd is screaming at the top of their lungs. A true champion finds a way to survive the chaos. The Boston Celtics just provided the entire basketball world with a massive reminder of exactly why they are the reigning champions, by going into the highly hostile environment of Philadelphia and completely stealing a massive victory in Game 3. The final score was 108-100, but that final margin absolutely does not tell the true story of just how incredibly difficult and ugly this specific basketball game truly was for the visitors. From the very opening tip-off, absolutely nothing seemed to be working correctly for the Boston offense as they looked completely out of sync and entirely disjointed. The team was extremely sloppy, with the basketball committing a highly brutal 17 turnovers throughout the night, which constantly fed the Philadelphia transition offense and kept the home crowd completely electrified. Furthermore, the Celtics heavily struggled to simply finish basic plays around the rim, shooting an incredibly poor 16 for 34 from inside the arc on the night. They completely failed to reach 30 points in any single quarter of the game, which is a massive statistical anomaly for a team with this much historic offensive firepower. The defense also showed some massive glaring leaks as they uncharacteristically surrendered 13 offensive rebounds to a highly aggressive Philadelphia front court, giving up completely unnecessary second-chance points. The ball movement that usually dictates the beautiful Boston offensive flow was virtually non-existent, as the team recorded just 21 total assists during the entire physical contest. But at the absolute end of the long and exhausting day, the Boston Celtics walked into that extremely hostile building and walked out with a massive test of character victory, entirely on the broad shoulders of their two franchise superstars. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum were honestly far from their absolute best for the vast majority of Friday night. They both severely struggled to get any sort of consistent rhythm going for much of the first three quarters, committing some incredibly ugly turnovers and making several perplexing decisions with the basketball in heavy traffic. But when the game was completely on the line, and the massive pressure reached its absolute boiling point in the decisive fourth quarter, they both miraculously rose to the occasion, turned up their competitive intensity, and pulled this crucial victory out of the mud with one clutch play after another. Tatum ultimately finished the physical contest with 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists on 9 for 17 shooting from the field. Meanwhile, Brown essentially mirrored that massive production, finishing with 25.7 rebounds and 4 assists on 9 for 16 shooting. But the raw box score numbers do not even begin to capture the true magnitude of what they specifically accomplished when the stakes were at their absolute highest in the final 12 minutes. Those overall stat lines might not look like anything historically special for either of these incredibly talented superstars, but in the decisive fourth quarter, with the entire game and potentially the entire series completely hanging in the balance, they completely took over the basketball game. Tatum was absolutely magnificent in the final frame, recording 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists while shooting a highly efficient 4 for 5 from the floor and a perfect 2 for 2 from beyond the three-point line. Brown was equally as devastating, putting up 8 massive points on an incredibly efficient 3 for 4 shooting performance when the team desperately needed a scoring punch. Brown hit a heavily contested mid-range jump shot right over the outstretched arms of Tyrese Maxey, completely silencing the crowd. He followed that up with an incredibly tough physical finish in heavy traffic and a hard-driving layup that showcased his elite athletic ability. He also calmly stepped up to the line and knocked down 2 incredibly clutch free throws to secure the lead. But his massive impact was not strictly limited to the offensive side of the floor. He aggressively picked up his defensive intensity on superstar Paul George, aggressively hounding him completely near half court and relentlessly battling through countless physical screens. That relentless defensive pressure ultimately resulted in a massive steal by Brown that directly led to a wide-open Derek White layup on the other end, completely shifting the momentum of the entire building. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the championship mentality of this basketball team, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you this daily coverage. Tatum was just as lethal in the closing moments, executing 2 incredibly tough physical finishes inside the painted area, despite heavy contact from the Philadelphia big men. He then completely collapsed the opposing defense and delivered a beautiful big assist to Peyton Pritchard, who confidently drained a monster three-pointer just to beat the expiring shot clock. But the absolute defining sequence of the entire night came in the final 2 minutes when Tatum confidently knocked down a pair of incredibly crucial three-pointers. The absolute biggest shot of the entire game was a massive dagger, right directly in the face of Philadelphia defender Adem Bona with the shot clock rapidly winding down. That completely cold-blooded shot put Boston up by 6 points with under 30 seconds left to play, essentially completely ending any hope of a miraculous Philadelphia comeback. All told, the superstar duo combined for an incredible 19 points on 7 for 9 shooting, along with 3 massive assists strictly in the fourth quarter alone. To put their absolute dominance into proper perspective, they explicitly scored or directly assisted on 27 of the total 29 points the Celtics scored in that final quarter. The only other scoring from the entire Boston roster during that crucial stretch came on 2 simple Derek White free throws in the absolute final seconds when the game was already mathematically decided. In other words, the 2 superstars entirely created absolutely all of the offensive production in the final frame when the lights were the brightest and the pressure was the heaviest. At the end of the day, this is exactly what you desperately want to see out of your 2 best and highest paid players, as they definitively showed their undeniable championship mettle to the entire world. This specific type of reliable clutch execution is exactly what was completely missing from this franchise for several agonizing years, when they simply could not quite get over the final hump and win a title. For a very long time, crunch time execution for the Boston Celtics was a complete nightly mystery that often resulted in highly frustrating isolation basketball and heartbreaking losses. But right now, they have completely transformed into the 2 absolute most reliable basketball players on the floor in any given high-stakes situation. They have successfully seen absolutely everything there is to see in this league, from bitter playoff defeats to the glorious heights of winning a championship, and absolutely nothing shakes their supreme confidence anymore. They completely meet the massive moment head-on, and they consistently play their absolute best basketball when the game is completely on the line and the margin for error is 0. Even on a highly frustrating night when neither superstar really had their best stuff going for the vast majority of the game, they miraculously came alive when it mattered most and completely willed the Boston Celtics to a massive victory on the road. That incredible level of resilience and sheer determination is absolutely all you can ever ask for from your franchise leaders as they continue their march toward another potential championship parade.